Okay, so today I want to do something completely different on this channel, and I've not seen anyone do this type of video before, so hopefully you'll stick around and join in with this as well, because it's going to be quite fun and it's going to be quite helpful for a lot of people who are struggling to make sales on Amazon. So recently in my Facebook group, I asked would people be interested in me doing a series where we take a look at other people's books. So people send in their books and then we as a community give feedback on where we think that person can improve on their book listings and hopefully help them make sales in the future. Okay, so we're going to start this video today with an author that's been publishing on KDP for around 3 years and has made around $240, and they're interested and again frustrated with this as well, with not making many sales, and they want help to try and boost some sales in the future. So to clarify this before starting, this person has given me 100% permission to go ahead and show off their books, their author page and all those things. Okay, so the point of these videos is not to just pick on one person's books, but the point here is to try and help someone identify common problems, common mistakes that people are making that are holding them back from making sales on Amazon. Okay, so obviously I'm going to give my opinion on this book, and my opinion, for what it's worth, is just my opinion on its own, so just one person. However, I think if people can start writing in the comments their feedback on this book as well, then together we're going to have a ton of really good information that's going to help this person and other people go forward with their publishing business. Okay, so if you do decide to sort of participate in this video and start commenting, please try and be respectful with your comments and give constructive feedback, because any sort of negativity isn't going to help anyone here whatsoever. So with that in mind, let's get started with this video. Okay, so the first thing that I want to do here when it comes to this person's book listing is we're going to take a look at one of their coloring books. Now, what I'm going to do is try and take a look at this firstly from a buyer's perspective. So what I'm going to do here is come straight from this website here and then flick straight over to this person's book listing. I'm going to give my first sort of like 3 to 5 second feedback on this book, because first impressions really matter when it comes to your listing. You need to captivate your audience straight away, and that's ultimately what's going to keep them on your listing and hopefully make some sales. Okay, so let's flick over to the listing now. Okay, so this is the book listing here, and the first thing that my eyes go to is straight to the front cover of the book here. Okay, so my first and my initial impressions here is going to be that this cover, for what it's trying to be sold, is just not good enough. Now, I'm not saying this is a bad cover. I'm not saying that this person hasn't put effort into this cover, because I speak to this person and I know that they put a ton of effort into their publishing business. However, the truth here, and I know that it hurts to hear sometimes, but the truth is that this cover, for the niche that it's in, a competitive niche, which is coloring books, this cover is not good enough. So typically, I think I'm one to err on the side of positivity. However, there are just some fundamentals when it comes to selling things on KDP that you just can't ignore, and you can't tell people that they're producing good books and good book covers when possibly that they're not, because ultimately it just doesn't help. So first feedback here for you is that this cover is not good enough. So if we can just talk more about this cover very quickly. And now, of course, obviously I'm not trying to make you feel bad. I'm not trying to make this person feel bad for what's going on here. I would love to help you make better books in future. So to set yourself a different standard in future. Okay. So from what I can understand here is that you've possibly made this cover in Canva. I kind of recognize the background that you've used here. So I'm thinking that is Canva. And, you know, when I'm looking at this, if I'm buying this, if I had kids, I would look at the quality of this cover and I'm thinking to myself, it doesn't look particularly child friendly. It looks like it's been made in a cheap software like Canva. And there's some other factors here as well, like this isn't centered correctly. As you can see, this is tilting off to the right hand side here. Your book cover, in my opinion, in order of importance here, you should go from your book cover to your title to your description in order of importance. Okay, so book cover and title, very, very important in my opinion. Book cover is the first thing that people look at. It's the first thing that people scroll. It's the thing that people see when they're scrolling through the Amazon listings. So it's really important that you have a book cover that looks good and it's in theme with other books in this niche. Okay, so I know this is a bitter pill to swallow for some people, but if you're entering into a really competitive niche like coloring books and tracing books, letter tracing books for kids, right? These are really competitive niches, okay? So in my opinion, your cover has to look better than this, because there's no point, and I know that you've put a ton of effort into the interior for this book, there's no point in making a ton of effort on your interior and then your front cover looking not so good, okay? Because that's the first thing people see. People aren't going to go and take a look at your wonderful interior if your front cover doesn't look great. So what I would recommend here that anyone does, if you're, and like I've said in previous videos, if you can make a cover yourself on Canva where it makes sense, then do that. However, when it comes to kids coloring books, in my opinion, it doesn't make sense to make these yourself if you can't design things too well. So let's just quickly take a look at a book like this here. So this is a large print coloring book for adults, okay? So by nature, this is a simple book. Therefore, the cover is simple, and you can make something like this yourself on Canva. This is really easy to make. It doesn't take much skill, but it makes sense with the niche that we're talking about, okay? However, when it comes to kids coloring books, it doesn't make sense to try and create something like this on Canva, okay? So just to do a painfully unfair type of comparison here, and I know this is kind of a not nice thing to do, but I think it's really important that people understand standards when it comes to selling books, especially coloring books on Amazon. Let's take a look at this animal coloring book here. Now, I know that I've picked one of the better coloring books, one that's selling extremely well. For some reason, that's selling #1 in popular dance, which makes no sense. But regardless, this book is selling well. And just to flick between the covers here. Now, you need to look at these here when you're doing this, when you're flicking through these. When I look between these two, there's a huge difference in quality of cover. And by quality, I don't mean this person spent more time doing it. I mean, it looks more appropriate for the niche that's being sold within, okay? And this is the biggest thing, and I think a lot of people get stuck at this point, is not understanding that there is a standard, that you are selling this book to people who have a standard and they expect something good that fits their needs within these niches, okay? So this here, for example, it makes sense. This cover looks great. It's perfect for a kid. It's colorful, it's clean. It just looks fantastic, okay? So what I would say is that you're right off the bat here, you're already killing your chances of making sales by creating these covers yourself, when, you know, to be harsh, you're not a designer yourself, I assume. So how do we counter that? And in my opinion, there's only one way around this, and that is to hire someone to do a cover for you. So always think this before you start actually creating the cover, even before you find the niches. If you're thinking about selling in a competitive niche like coloring books, take a look at the competition, okay? Flick back and forth between these type of books, ones that aren't selling and ones that are selling, and take a look at the difference here. And it is vital that you understand that there is a huge difference between the quality of this cover and the quality of covers like this, okay? Okay, so I know I've exhausted this point by a long way, but the importance of it, I think, is absolutely spectacular. So go ahead and start searching for people to create these covers for you. Now, when it comes to actually hiring someone to do book covers, go ahead and take a look on Fiverr.com. And the next piece of advice that I can give here would be to actually take your time when it comes to finding someone to produce book covers, okay? So go through Fiverr and search for kids book covers and just go through them, okay? Take a look at everything that people have to offer here, because the chances are is that they can do a better job than what you can do in Canva. Okay, so once you find someone, you can go ahead, you know, try a sample order from them or whatever, or you can even order from multiple people. It depends on your budget, how much you're willing to spend. At the moment, it's costing me around £30. So I guess that's $40 for each of my covers now, because I want them to look good, because they're in competitive markets like coloring books. So if you want a great cover, be prepared to spend a little bit more money. So this person is charging £46 here, which is quite a lot. But the chances are that they're going to do a good job on it, okay? But again, it's not for me to tell you how much to spend. You could find someone for £5 that could make a good cover for you that does the job. So like this person's covers here, for example, animal coloring book for kids. They've done one themselves. I think that looks pretty good. It's not amazing, but I think it's better than the efforts that someone can create in Canva, okay? Okay, so that's enough for this section. I've ragged on this person's cover for long enough. I hope I'm not making them feel bad, but it is super important. So let's move on to the next aspect of this listing, which is going to be the title. And what we have here is animal coloring book for kids, letter tracing for kids 3 to 5. Now, I don't know about you, but this title for me is slightly confusing. I don't understand whether I'm getting an animal coloring book for kids or a letter tracing book. I think here you need to sort of make it evidently clear what you're actually trying to sell. So what I'm going to do in a second, hopefully to give you a better idea of what I would do, is create a title listing for you for this type of book. And then you can tell me whether you think this looks better than what you've come up with or not. And if you want to create your own title, anyone in the comments that wants to give it a go as well, feel free to do that. The more the merrier. The practice is good and the feedback is good for this author as well. So primarily, is this an animal coloring book or is it a letter tracing book? So I think you need to decide what you're sort of targeting first before you create this book, okay? So for me, after looking inside, I think it's probably more so a letter tracing book, and they can color it if they want to. Okay, so identify what it is you're trying to sell, and then you can come up with your title quite quickly by using this sort of Amazon search method that a lot of people use. And that is just to start typing into the Amazon search, just to give us some idea as to what people are searching for within your niche. So I'm going to make the assumption that your niche is primarily a letter tracing book for kids 3 to 5. Okay, so I'm using the self-publishing Titans drop down extension thing here. So you're probably already using one that's similar to this, where it gives you might be using AMZ suggestion expander. I'm testing out the self-publishing Titans one, which is kind of similar, also very good. So as I start typing letter tracing, I can see that letter tracing for kids ages 3 to 5 is one of the first things that pops up here. So that's what you're targeting, right? That's the book primarily, is a letter tracing book for kids age 3 to 5, okay? So let's go ahead, and just to make things simple for you here, let's go ahead and assume that this is going to be your title for your book. So I'm going to go ahead and create what I think would be a better title and subtitle for your book. Okay, so let's just come across to Word here and start putting together a title and subtitle for your book. Just going to make this a little bit bigger. Okay, so I found that what I assumed was your sort of target audience here were people looking for letter tracing for kids ages 3 to 5. And we did that by looking on the extension that brought down all those different options. And all those different options are things that people are actively searching for, okay? So now we need to go ahead. We've got our title. We're going to use that as the title. And now we're going to create a subtitle as well. Okay, so what I established from your listing was this was primarily a letter tracing book. And then on the side of that, we have it is also animal themed, and the kids can color this book as well. So I'm going to start my subtitle with animal themed. Okay, so when it comes to creating my subtitles, I tend to go and just look through what other people are doing, what other words people are using to describe their letter tracing book for kids. And I try and sort of create my subtitle around those words myself, where it makes sense to do so. So it might be a little advanced for you at the moment to sort of do all this keyword research and use different tools to find different traffic volumes and all such for different keywords. So let's just do things this way for now, because we know that these other books are going to be using keywords and words that have traffic going to them, okay? So you're going to find that there's going to be words like preschool, sight words, pen control, kindergarten, learn the alphabet, fun, practice. So you can, if you go through and do things this way and just write these words down, common words that you keep seeing in other people's listings, write all these words down and then start creating your subtitle from these words. Okay, so if you're not interested in doing the whole use software to find like a keyword that has X amount of traffic going to it to create your titles and stuff, if that's not for you, if you're not at that point, then just do things this way. Okay, so I've just very quickly come up with this, so don't take this for gospel, the title and subtitle that I've written here. So an animal themed letter practice workbook for preschool children to help pen control and learn the alphabet. So it, to me, okay, maybe I did that a little bit quick, but I think it makes sense. I think it's got good keywords in it that people are going to be searching for. So things like preschool, workbook, children, pen control, alphabet, learn. It's packed full of good keywords, but I'm not stuffing them in to the point where it doesn't make sense. And it's also telling the customer exactly what they're getting. Okay, so we've got a much clearer view now of what this person's going to be buying. So letter tracing book for kids ages 3 to 5, animal themed letter print. So if I had to give one criticism here of the title that I've come up with, is that one, I've obviously done it too quickly, and two, I think it's possibly a little bit long. But I think we're heading in a better direction here now, where we have kind of a keyword that's being searched for, a keyword phrase that's being searched for by people that are coming on to Amazon. So we saw that through the extension. People are actively searching for letter tracing for kids ages 3 to 5. So we've tidied up the subtitle, made it make more sense. We've put more keywords in it, and we've also given benefits as well. So pen control and learning the alphabet. Okay. So for me, we're on a better track here already by making these changes. Okay, and also just to make this clear, what I'm not saying is that you just go ahead and change the book cover or create the exact same book again. I'm just giving you my opinion on how I think you should proceed with future books, okay? Okay, so that's the book cover done, and we have the title done as well. Now we're going to focus on the next aspect, which is going to be the description here. So honestly, in my opinion, I do think we put too much emphasis on the description. I think you can do what you've done here. I really like this. You just sort of put in the bullet points of what the customer is going to be getting. It gives you some benefits for the child as well. So I like this. I would typically write a little bit more at the beginning about, just kind of gas yourself up, kind of gas the book up a little bit, make it sound, like it's the real deal, really try and sell your book basically. But other than that, I don't think the description needs to be, you don't need to spend that much time fretting over your description. Your cover and your title are much more important in my opinion. So the reason why I say we should focus less on description is because we have something that we can use that's way more important and I think way better than the description section, and that is the A+ content. So I'm going to scroll down and see if you're using it. I don't think you were. Okay, so you're not using the A+ content, which I would highly recommend that you do after you get these other factors right first. I think you should use your A+ content to show off your interior of your book and put all these things together, and I think you're going to have a much higher chance of making sales, okay? So just one more thing, I did check out your author profile page here. So in future, what I would do, I noticed that you write your own books and you have your word searches, your coloring books. And again, if I was I actually checked this book out, your other coloring book out earlier, the cover is nicer, it's still not good enough, not centered as well. I would say when you're offering coloring pages, 24 pages, in my opinion, just isn't enough. People, for $7 especially, people are going to want like 50 to 100 or 75 pages instead of 24. Okay, that's just my opinion, but I think 24 is on the low side of things. But also, and I don't know how important this actually is, so you have all these different types of books that you've written yourself, word searches, coloring books. I think you had some mandala books in here as well, your super low content books like writing prompt books and things like that. So you have all these under your one author name. So in future, what I would do is to create separate author names. So if you're going to do coloring books, have them all under one author name. So because if someone buys your coloring book, or they like the look of your coloring book and they come onto your author page, they can see, I'm not saying your author page is a mess, but for someone buying who's just interested in buying coloring books, it might look a bit all over the place. And when you're selling anything on Amazon, you want to make yourself look like you're an expert in that domain. So all of your coloring books should go, in my opinion, under one author name. All your word searches under one author name. All your super low content books, like your hiking logbook, all under one author name. Because in my opinion, when you have all sorts of different books under one author name, it makes you kind of look like that sort of jack of all trades type of author. Okay, so that is my thoughts on this person's books. If you'd like to give your feedback on this person's books as well, then go ahead and write some comments below. We'd all be happy to see them and get feedback from them. Again, this is just my opinion, it's not gospel, I'm no expert, but this is what I think that this person needs to do. And yeah, let me know if you agree with me, if you disagree with me, what you would change in this person's listing. Let's try and help everyone out here. And yeah, that's it for this video. If you're interested in more of these type of videos, let me know, send me a message, join the Facebook group, do whatever, but I'll see you in another video very soon.